Konnichiwa Carbon Capture Conference. Thank you ever so much for inviting me to share a UK perspective on carbon capture. My name is Alex Milward. I am the Director for Carbon Capture in the UK government within the Department for Energy and Net Zero. I have been working on this for 5 years and I'm delighted to have a lot of cooperation and collaboration with Japan and see some of the great progress that you've been making with the roadmap that you've set out, the legislation that you've put in place, the demonstrator projects that you've achieved, and the hopefully FIDs you'll be taking in the near future. And very keen to continue working with you in the Carbon Management Challenge, a global initiative which the UK and Japan, as well as other countries who I'm sure are present there today, are working towards bringing the whole world to net zero through the essential contribution that carbon capture needs to make, as well as our work together on international capture and shipping and transport of CO2 from one country to another, where we have some very similar dynamics in the Asia Pacific region as we do in Northern Europe. So we are very keen to share our learnings and very keen to learn from others as well. Today, I wanted to share perhaps a perspective which doesn't always get taken forward as succinctly in the UK operating model and our economic and financial model, and share some perspectives with that. Many people will be aware of the carbon budgets that the UK sets as a strong foundation to a legally required net zero by 2050. Within each carbon budget, and this is carbon budget 6, we set out the effort share from each technology, be it energy efficiency or insulation and demand reduction, through to carbon capture and the different types in industrial, transport, for sustainable aviation fuel potentially, as well as greenhouse gas removals and BECCS, that sets me the target that I need to have delivered by a certain date in the megatons and megawatts within that. We've set up a national plan as to where our current and maybe future emissions will be, or increased demand in electrification and the need for low carbon power that carbon capture can contribute to when weather dependent renewables are not available to provide that. We have taken our first contracts in HyNet in the northwest and East Coast Cluster in the northeast, and we have a plan to bring forward other clusters such as Acorn in Scotland and Viking in the Humber, as well as others through non-pipeline transport and other mechanisms too. The economic framework of which we deliver that is essentially we have an economic market failure, as people will know, around the we don't have a true price for putting CO2 into the atmosphere and offsetting the climate change that's providing. We divide each of the different users and user types of capture projects or sources of CO2 into their different constituent parts with different risks and different requirements. And whilst we have an emissions trading scheme which incentivizes low cost and low carbon pathways to decarbonize, and we're in position of putting in a carbon border adjustment mechanism, like much of Europe is planning to do as well, in order to protect the competitiveness of our industries. Indeed, take an opportunity to enhance our economic prosperity through the low carbon products and services we're able to provide. The current mechanisms are not sufficient for these industries to fully decarbonize through high cost technologies such as carbon capture in these hard to abate industries. So we create subsidy incentives, either tax funded or through energy bills, and create private law contracts that means investors can be confident that future governments won't change its policy and that the contract will be honoured for the duration of the period and the conditions within that. What those subsidies allow is the ability for us to also then provide capital funding for the construction of these projects, which means that the subsidies can be lower because the government's cost of capital is generally lower than the private sector's cost of capital. And then that means that these companies have sufficient funds to pay a company to transport and store the carbon dioxide that they've captured and permanently and safely bury that under the seabed. In an ideal world, these capture projects would have a competitive process to be able to choose which transport and storage company provides them the best and lowest cost answer. At the moment, whilst we're in the early stages of the industry, essentially these storage companies are monopolies, and hence we in the UK put a regulatory framework to cap the profits and therefore protect the capture project users from any price hikes that are unwarranted. But in recognition of capping profits, we also put some protections to what might be unacceptable risks and financial downsides to the transport and storage companies through what we call government support packages. And we put that together with a series of government agencies that help us assure that we have the environmental protections, the technical competence in each of the companies operating with this industry to bring an affordable and safe solution together. This stage that we have created and now taken our first 3 contracts that we have awarded. We are hoping imminently to announce more contracts successfully awarded in the near future. I'm told by others who work internationally that these are the only projects that have been able to bring in private banking finance to put that capital to work and then be reimbursed through the publicly supported subsidies that go through. Again, with certain risks and rewards and incentives that we've negotiated hard in putting those contracts together. So if true, we're very proud of that and keen to share those lessons, but also keen to learn from other countries too. We call that early stage of the contracts that we've set up a great success, but we have a long way to go. We call that our market creation stage, and as we hope to be able to move much more to a self-sustaining industry with a lot less government intervention on project choices and subsidies, and through a much more market-enabled solution to be able to sort of provide the decarbonisation that we require as a country. So we're working hard towards that. I was going to share some lessons that we have, but just touching on a couple. We set aside in this, what is our 3rd attempt at getting carbon capture launched in the UK, and really had thought hard about what's the appropriate way of structuring the industry and which actors in the industry and different parts of the value chain are best placed to bear what risk, because they'll be able to manage that risk better and at a lower cost for both industry and the public purse. And I'm delighted to say that the contracts that we've awarded, that risk allocation has held true over what has then been a further 4 years of engagement, consultation, and indeed some very tough negotiations. And another point I would just touch on from here in the time that we have worked very hard with local communities to the benefits that they will receive in jobs, to have them welcoming and receiving the carbon capture infrastructure into their communities, and also working hard at that still across the nation. It's fair to say that not everybody supports the use of all uses of carbon capture. So we're working very hard to try and bring all of industry and society forward in that, and keen to work with Japan and other countries in the global carbon management challenge, and keen to share all of the learnings that we have. All of the business models and contracts and plans are all publicly available. If you'd like to send me a message, I can send you the link and send you thousands and tens of thousands of pages, which, if used and is useful, I'm convinced will help accelerate the world to net zero, and importantly lower the cost to net zero. And happy to share that as a UK gift to conference, and come back next year hopefully with some lessons on the construction stage, because a contract is one thing, CO2 safely and efficiently storing in the ground is another. Have a good conference, everyone. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to continue working with you.